I live in Upper East Tennessee, and over the past 12 years, I have built a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio in the Appalachian Mountains. I did it after the age of 42, and I did it as a single mom on my own while raising a whole bunch of kids. And I keep hearing lately that you can't buy a house nowadays, you can't get started in real estate, that it's too difficult. So I started this channel to show people that it's not too difficult. You can do it. I have done really well with real estate, and I've done it by doing things a little bit differently than most people do. And I don't do it the way a lot of these gurus will teach you how to do it. Matter of fact, I was at a closing yesterday with my 28-year-old son, and we were taking a couple of properties off of a certain type of mortgage and putting them into a different type of mortgage to clear the way. Because the loan officer I talked to today about the type of properties that he can buy now literally said to me, "The world is your oyster, go pick out whatever you want and I will give you the approval letter." So that means I get to go on the MLS, and yes, I buy real estate off of the MLS. I get to go on the MLS and just choose the properties that I want, make an offer, and we will get the approval letter for whatever it is. Now, that doesn't mean I'm gonna go pick out a luxury piece of real estate. I'm gonna go pick out a piece of real estate that will put money in his pocket every month. So he will have no housing cost, he will have a minimal down payment, and his tenants will pay for him not only to live, but they will put the equity in his pocket, right? So I started doing this 12 years ago. The first property I got was kind of a desperation move. Bought it for $120,000, and that piece of real estate is now worth over $500,000. So that one is the kind of thing that is my favorite. That's the best one. That's the kind of thing that I'm getting him into now, and it's the same kind of thing I'm setting up for all of my other kids. But it's also the kind of thing that I coach other people into looking for and purchasing for themselves and for their families, because I think it's not only the smartest way to do it, but it's the easiest way to get started, especially if you have very limited resources and not a whole lot of money to work with. So the number one way, in my opinion, and this is what I did and it's what I'm still doing, number one way to get started is by what's called house hacking, okay? That's where you live in a piece of real estate and you have your tenants pay for it. That's number one. Number two is to do it with a minimal down payment mortgage. You do not have to go into 20% down, right? You also have the freedom to change your market. We live in Upper East Tennessee. Now, that includes the Tri-Cities, it includes Knoxville, it includes Chattanooga, but it also includes some very small markets where there are vast swings in the price of the real estate, right? So we have options. What all of that means is that you have a range of choices. We could go to Knoxville and pick out something right next to the University of Tennessee that would cost $1.5 million. Or we could go to Rogersville and get the exact same piece of property for $300,000. Guess what we're gonna be looking for, right? So one of the properties that we're looking at right now is a 4-unit apartment building. And I'm gonna throw some numbers at you because I want you to think about some things. So my son, who is the one I'm working with on this property, he is qualified for an FHA mortgage. That means he can get a multifamily property, FHA, for 3.5% down, okay? So pretend it's $100,000. It's not, but it's $100,000. That means instead of $20,000 down payment, he only needs $3,500 plus the closing costs. So he'll be able to get into this property for far less money than if he were buying a regular mortgage. On top of that, and this is the important part that a lot of people miss, they don't understand, you are allowed to use the rent from the rest of the property as part of your income, okay? So let's say this particular property that we're looking at, that property brings in $3,600 a month from the other 3 units. He will live in one. There's $3,600 that comes in from the other 3 units. Those 3 units get counted as part of his income. So when he goes to the mortgage broker that does the mortgage for him, that gets added in to his debt to income. That means he gets a much larger mortgage. So not only does he have a smaller down payment, he qualifies for a larger property. Once you kind of get your head around the math and how it works, you realize that you have far more options than you may think you do right now, okay? Now, hi, I'm brand new to live, so please be patient with me. I really don't know how a lot of this works, but thank you so much. We are talking about real estate. I have built a real estate portfolio in the Appalachian Mountains. I have 12 properties. We have 26 units. I have several multifamily properties. And I did it by house hacking and by doing what's called a live-in flip. So I've done, quite a few of those. So that's what we're talking about here. Now, that's part of the financing side, and I think it's one of the best ways to get started. Once you kind of get beyond that, there's a million other ways of acquiring and managing properties. I do quite a few of forced equity. I will buy really ratty, terrible, I call them smelly Meemaw houses. If it's had a smoker or too many cats, I like those because you can get them for very little, clean them up, and then refinance them and pull your equity out and go do it again. That's a good method. And I don't sell. As a family, we don't sell our real estate. We hang on to it. That's one. I have bought several properties from attorneys at estate sales when they just want to cash out and get rid of a house that's been inherited. That's another method. I've done construction notes where I've done rehabs on things. So there's a million ways to buy a piece of real estate that you can turn around and make money from that is not what everybody will tell you is just the way to go get a conventional mortgage, all right? So you do not have to save up 20% down and simply qualify for a mortgage while you're carrying just what life hands you, just a regular job, and you're trying to handle kids, and you're trying to handle a car payment and your student loans and everything else that life throws at you. When I bought my first property, and I want you to hear this, I did not have a standard job. I was raising 7 children, and I bought a 4-unit apartment building. That's the one I mentioned a little while ago. I also just kind of got lucky on that one. The owner of that building just wanted to carry the mortgage for me, so I didn't even have to qualify for a standard mortgage. I did end up refinancing him out of that mortgage, and that's a pretty good trick. I'm actually in the process of refinancing that mortgage a second time because the building has increased so much in value that I'm harvesting the equity out of it so I can continue to purchase additional properties. But that was not only a live-in flip, but it was also a house hack. And those 2 types of situations are 2 of my favorites, okay? So purchasing a rehab, that's another one. And all of these things involve what's called forcing equity, meaning you do not buy a property that's what they call turnkey. If a property is listed as turnkey, that means somebody else has already done the work that makes the value of the property increase the most. That means you're paying them where all the equity is. They've already done that, and they get the money, right? So you want the ones that are listed as investor special. That's what you're looking at. So anyway, what I was doing when I started this channel was to try to show people that all the myths about real estate and making money in real estate and being a landlord and all those things, most of them are simply not true. The big things that you hear all the time about how real estate is so risky, you hear that from people who don't own real estate and who are not landlords. You'll hear things like, oh, I don't want to deal with tenants and toilets. I do. Those tenants are buying me very nice real estate. I appreciate that. Sure, you do have to deal with some things. I have a tenant right now who is making me kind of crazy because she's an idiot. She looked great on paper. We did all the screening, and as soon as she moved in, she immediately became a problem. But the kind of problem that you can manage, right? So in this case, she showed up with a giant truck and started putting the truck on the yard, not in the brand new parking space, but on the yard, on top of where I had just installed $50,000 worth of brand new sewer lines that went in after Hurricane Helene. And I kept asking her, can you not park there? And her response was not to worry about it because she was insured. She had insurance on the truck of $100,000, and so she could do $100,000 worth of damage to the buildings. No problem. My response was to put a barricade up to physically prevent her from parking there. Because I called and checked with my insurance agent, and because she had been told, and because she was willfully risking the damage, insurance would not cover it. So yes, sometimes you do have to deal with problem tenants. But that also happens to be the building that has quadrupled in value over the past 10 years. So a couple of phone calls and a few dollars to a handyman to erect a barrier, I don't mind it. Real estate and being a landlord is a job. It's a job like any other type of job. You do have to learn, you have to study what you're doing, you have to pay attention, and there are things that you have to do in order to get paid. But it is doable. You can study it, you can learn it, and with every property that you do, you get a little better and your business gets stronger, right? When I started, I was kind of in a desperation moment. I had a house full of kids, and my brother had just evicted us from our family home. He had inherited the house and the money. I had inherited the kids, and he turned around and filed an eviction notice. So we were at the point where it was live in the van. And I think it was one of those God moments where I came across the man who just happened to have an apartment building that he wanted to sell, and he wanted to carry the note for tax reasons. And I'm an accountant, I do taxes, so there's a reason why somebody would want to do that, and eventually we can talk about that if you want to. That's an entire thing. So people that say you have to have a huge down payment or what have you, no, you don't. And you don't have to be super young to build a lot of equity. I've had people tell me it's too late to get started. I was 42. So I'm 57 now. And all of the growth in my portfolio has happened in the past 12 years, right? So anyway, if you're watching this, I would love to know a couple things. What is it that you would like to know about real estate? What are your questions? What do you need to know to get started? And what education is it that I can bring to the table? With that said, I do residential real estate. I don't do commercial. I don't do trailer parks. I don't do storage. I don't do all the collateral things. My world is residential real estate. But I really would like to know how I can help and what I can bring that would provide the most value to you, because I really think anybody can do it, and I can help you. So there you go. I want to know, and I hope I can help.